So I was 16 years old, and it was about a week before the GCSEs were about to begin. My eye suddenly dropped, like I'd had a stroke almost. And we went to the doctors after that to find out what was happening. Their nurse came in with the doctor and they said that there was this thing and they called it a lesion, and I was a bit like, well, what's a lesion? And Mum and I were the same. My mum was there with me. I probably broke her hand that day. I was gripping it so tight. She asked the doctor what it was it a tumour? And the doctor said yes.
It was like as if a hole had opened up in the ground and I had fallen into this hole, which was so deep. It was horrible.
It's a bitter conversation on a winter's afternoon as we're frozen in December on a new face of the moon. Like it was when we were children, like it was when we were young. What's a lifetime to remember if you're not what I've become? But I won't let go.
And the next day I had a series of tests to determine what was happening, what it was doing, and they determined that it was actually affecting my eye quite badly. And initially they thought it was on the pituitary gland, and the pituitary gland is the one that affects all of your hormones. So that was quite sort of dangerous. It was going to stop my hormones working.
All through the process to get to the final operation, it was like a roller coaster of a ride.
And then I get a phone call saying, about in August that year, 2008, saying that I'm going to have a biopsy.
Sean came to us here at King's College Hospital as a 16-year-old boy with a diagnosis of cancer, and at any age that's a very anxiety-inducing diagnosis. But at 16 you certainly don't expect to have something like that, and one certainly forms a very strong bond with a patient of that age because there's a lot of support that's required, and one also has to spend a lot of time explaining the problem in terms that not only the parents might understand but also the patient at that age might understand, because their understanding might be slightly different depending upon the maturity of the child.
And that was the first surgery I had, the biopsy, and that was they were going to take a scraping of the tumour. They were going to go up through my nose with a camera, take a small scraping of the tumour. They did that, and that was, I'd never had sort of invasive surgery before, and I'd only ever been under general anaesthetic once, and it was quite gory, really. It was quite a horrible experience. I didn't, when I came round, I was anxious and I felt like I needed to get out of bed, and I was shaking, and then they gave me a sedative actually, and I slept for about a day. So yeah, we came out of that, and then I was asked to go and have an MRI scan to see what the tumour was doing, and they said that it'd grown. Initially it was the size of a pea, but it had grown to about the size of a tangerine. So they said that we're going to need to do some more work. I had an appointment at the Royal Marsden Hospital in Sutton, and they told me what I was going to have done. They initially said they were going to have to sort of, I think, something to do with drilling or something through my skull or something like that, or some really invasive surgery. A few weeks after this, I got a call from King's again, from the guy that did my biopsy, Dr. Nick Thomas, and he said that they had this guy, Professor Michael Gleason, who come up with the mid-facial degloving, which is what I had done.
To access the tumour through the upper gum and through the lip, and by that means we could actually open up a lot of the bone behind the face and make a very, very large exposure of the skull base. From a cosmetic point of view, we can stitch up the wounds satisfactorily, many of which won't be seen because they're inside the mouth. And while the operation is being performed, we have a very wide exposure of the area, but at the end it won't look like very much has been done on the face. Having exposed the skull base, we could see where the important vessels were. These are important vessels that supply blood to the brain, so if they are damaged, a patient may end up with a stroke, not being able to move one side of the body or the other. One can never be absolutely sure that you have removed every single little bit of tumour, but given the landmarks and the imaging, the scans that we had before the operation, we were confident that we had removed it in its entirety. But surgery never guarantees to get rid of every single last cell. And if the tumour is not entirely benign, one always has to give consideration to further treatment such as radiotherapy to ensure that whatever small number of cells might be left behind don't regenerate into another tumour.
The doctor that administers the anaesthetic came round and she sort of filled me on a few things. They said that this is quite serious, the surgery. It's going to take about 7 hours, and I'm going to be in hospital for a long time. And I was going to go to intensive care that night, and you know, I've got to prepare myself and mentally. And
there are potential complications with every operation, and skull-base surgery has significant risks attached to it, and so we always have to consent a patient and parents about risks in terms of infection, bleeding and damage to the important structures that are close to where the tumour is. And one always has to mention risks in terms of stroke and a risk to life, or be those very, very small risks percentage-wise.
So the next day I was so nervous, I wanted to jump out of the window and just run for it. So we requested that I had a sedative, but it was more of a calmer downer. That's what I used to call it, a calmer downer. And it was this tiny little tablet, and I literally just sort of mellowed instantly. It was euphoric almost.
Once they get you in, and they start whatever procedure they're going to do, you're in very good hands. And I've always thought that, not only with Sean, with other dealings I've had with the NHS.
I remember distinctly what I said when I came round, and my dad actually had this put on a T-shirt. What I said, the doctor, Professor Gleason, was there, and he said, "How are you feeling?" And I said, "I've had better days,"
which I thought was quite amazing after everything, I just thought of Mr. Bump. So I got a Mr. Bump T-shirt, and I put a slogan on it: "I've had better days," and gave it to him a little while later when he came out of hospital.
That made me feel like it had gone really well. I don't know if I can how to explain that. It just made me feel like that the surgery had happened and it gone well, because I was saying things like that. I still had that, you know, normal sense of humour. I wasn't in agony. I wasn't, I'm in so much pain, you know. I just said I've had better days, and I was so, it kind of gave me a little bit of a cheering up sort of thing inside.
We had said to Sean and his parents that he might be in hospital for 2 to 3 weeks.
No, I'm not going to be in this place for a month.
Everyone is different, and even as surgeons, one can never be quite sure whether an operation goes well and that there aren't complications after. Fortunately, in Sean's case, the surgery went extraordinarily well. We felt that we'd got rid of all the tumour. From the point of view of what we could see as surgeons, he didn't have any post-operative complications and was out of the hospital within 8 days.
And I was so happy that they were going to release me, because I forced myself to stick to their routine, and I did it even faster because I was just like, I'm not staying in this place. I've got bigger fish to fry out there. The radiotherapy, I'd say, even more than the surgery, the radiotherapy was the hardest thing I've ever had to do my whole life. It was agony, and it was constantly being sick. I was constantly being sick 5-6 times a day, couldn't keep anything down but pasta. You know, it changed my life forever, because as a result of that, it did actually knock my pituitary gland out. I now have to take hormones every day. So this is my injection every day. It's growth hormone. I use these needles. I use these needles to sort of take it, really. Yeah, I can't really get them out because you have to use the thing to get them out, but yeah, they're only short, really small needles. Then down a bit, you got the levothyroxine, which is for your thyroid gland. I have an underactive thyroid, so it doesn't make me gain weight, it just does nothing. This is Tosteran gel, it's testosterone. I have to apply it, it's a gel. Yeah, that takes care of my testosterone every day. A man on average produces 10 milligrams of testosterone. I produce naturally 0.1, so I have to make it up with that. And then it's hydrocortisone, and the hydrocortisone is steroid, but I just have to replace basically everything you see here. I have to replace naturally with all this medicine. Everything that a normal person would produce is right here on the table. It's the thing that, out of everything, that's really sort of, you know, been there the whole time. If I can sort of describe the procedure, it's you go in and they put you on this bed. They had this mask made up for me, and they bolted it down onto the table on top of my face. And I had the machine. It comes round. It comes sort of round your head. Beep, 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 for about 4 minutes, and you get this funny smell in your nose like bacon. Yeah, so I had that for 6 weeks. After that, it was kind of like post-treatment, but you know, I've met people along this sort of journey I've taken that have really influenced me. I met this woman, I don't remember her name, but the day after I had my biopsy, she was admitted to the hospital. And she was there until after I left from the surgery, 6 to 7 weeks later. But she'd just fainted one day. And she was, you know, she was in a bad way. The ward I was on, it was just for head trauma. And she was in a really bad way. She was saying that she didn't have a lot of time, but they were going to try and do everything they could. So I was talking to her quite a lot throughout the time I was in hospital, and when I left, she gave me this. It's a small bottle of holy water from Knock in Ireland, where she was Irish. So, and she said, "I think you need it more than I do." And I think about her nearly every day, and I wonder what happened to her. She's really, out of everybody I ever met, and everybody that ever sort of spoke to me or whatever, she's the one that I've remembered most.
It seemed that it was fate that everything turned out as it has done.
In January, it will be 5 years, and that will be the end of my remission. You know, things have happened in 5 years, and it's gone so quickly. I've made some of the best and some of the worst choices in my life in the last 5 years. You know, I've lost family and, you know, gained family from, you know, aunts and uncles and cousins and whatnot, you know. It's been weird, but I've had some of the best experiences of my life as well. Like I went with the Teenage Cancer Trust. They took me to Centre Parks for the weekend for a conference called Find Your Sense of Humour, and that was amazing. You know, I met some incredible people, and it really puts you in perspective when you meet some of them. You know, some of the other people, because when you've got something like this, you kind of focus on your thing, on what's happening to you. But when you meet other people who have got it as well, and in some ways, I don't want to say worse, because I strongly believe that everybody has their own problems, and everyone has their own hill that they've got to get over. Or, you know, I mean, there was a girl, she was dying, and she was about my age at the time. She was dancing around. She was like the most colourful person I'd met, really, in all this, and she'll probably be another one I'll always remember. Yeah, so I'm in a very good place now. I've got the best friends I've ever had, and my family's not very far away. I'm at university, you know, I'm doing everything I ever dreamed of doing, and you know, I think I'm finally ready to sort of move on. So yeah.
Does it really have to happen for a reason?
It's the end, you know. I hope it's the end. Fingers crossed we'll get good results in a couple of days' time.
Something that you have to live with and take each day and be grateful.
And I really do hope that we finish this problem off for you and you can get on with the rest of your life.
I got a call, and it was a private number, so I knew what it was. And I called everybody round, and we were stood there. I was in the kitchen just pacing, and the guy said, he said that everything was stable, nothing has changed, and this is really good news. And yeah, it was amazing. You know, I was just like, oh, thank God, this is it. You know, this is the final hurdle.